Hey, family. Welcome back to the channel. All right, I have so much I want to share now. I got Spock up here telling us, remember, live long and prosper. But I wanted to read from the Holy Megillah, page 1042, the chapter 102. And it's called I, Spock, Laria. And it made me think about Spock. And then I was like, wow, he's actually holding up a mudra. They say it means live long and prosper, right? And man, they were showing us everything, weren't they? But we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what I, Spaklaria, means. And in the Holy Megillah, it says it's the mirror. So I noticed that it was phonetically the same. You could say I, Spaklaria. Live long and prosper, right? They was playing games with us, man. But hey, that's what this is. It's almost like a game. You just can't get played, right? So let's jump over and read a little bit more about I, Spaklaria. They got a little bit of stuff on it, but I saw here this little quick academia edu. It does say that he associates sparklaria with the Latin word speculo, and that's a mirror. He emphasizes it is used by women to see their faces. So, sparklaria does mean the mirror, and that's what it says in the Holy Megillah. But we read about two different types of mirrors in the video titled Magic Mirror, because we're also told in the Megillah that the magic mirror is self-awareness. So they're talking about physical mirrors and spiritual mirrors. We read from this guy's paper, the one we're reading, the word, it came from Harold Waldwin. I love it. Harold Waldwin Percival. He was like a whirlwind too, because let me tell you, we were going to read some more from his paper today. But in the last video, I questioned and wondered, where is he getting his information from? So in this little snippet of his biography, it says that even as a young boy, Percival was a seeker of truth, and that in 1892, in his quest for knowledge, he joined that Theosophical Society. Well, it said a year later, after he joined that Theosophical Society, and twice during the next 14 years, Percival had the unique experience of being conscious of consciousness. Now, to me, that sounds like the ladder, that spiral ladder of being, in my opinion, because listen what it says, that this experience was a potent spiritual and noetic enlightenment. He stated that the value of that experience was that it enabled him to know about any subject by a process he called real thinking. Because these experiences revealed to him more than was contained in theosophy, he wanted to share this knowledge with humanity. So there's a lot to this. I want to read this Thinking in Destiny. But right now, we're just going to read more from this paper, The Word, okay? And on his writing about mirrors. And so I'm sure there's more information on him. You can go and check it out for yourself. But reading his paper is bringing to my mind a lot of these teachings out of the Megillah. So we skimmed through all of this first couple of pages in the last 2 or 3 videos. He said that the all-surface mirror stands for the spiritual world, which is approached and known from any and every side, and in which past, present, and future merge into eternal being. He also said here that the plane, the angle, the prism, and that all-surface crystal sphere are the physical symbols for mirrors of the physical, the psychic or the astral, the mental, and the spiritual worlds. Crystal sphere. Do we know that as a crystal ball? Well, On page 935 in the Holy Megillah, you can read about this other wizardess, Mika Iza. It's spelled Mechezah. In her story, there is a red dragon and there is a crystal ball. So, Megillah scholars might be able to put it all together. I'm trying to see what type of mirror that Gawainja man held up, but it showed that dragon itself for what it really is. And then we read here from Harold Percival that there's different types of mirrors, and that this all-surface mirror, man, it says that it shows past, present, and future merging into eternal being. So that's dropping some heavy seeds in my mind. They are growing, and I'm going to try to share them with you as they grow. But let's get going now. We're going to not read from chapter 102. I apologize. We're going to just read some more of this paper from Harold Percival. Okay, so let's get going. It's pretty long. We're not going to finish it, but we're going to just see as much as we can get on here in a decent amount of time. Okay. The physical is the world of the reflections of reflections. The astral is the world of reflection. The mental is the world of emanation, transmission, refraction. And then the spiritual is the world of ideas, being, beginning, and creation. The physical world is the mirror of all other worlds. All of the worlds are reflected by the physical world. In the order of manifestation, the physical world is the lowest point reached in the involutionary process and the beginning of the evolutionary process. In the manifestation of light, when light reaches downward to the lowest point, it bends back and returns towards the height from which it descended. This law is important. It says that this law represents the idea of involution and of evolution. No thing can be evolved that is not involved. No light can be reflected by a mirror that is not thrown on the mirror. The line of light as it strikes a mirror will be reflected at the same angle or curve at which it strikes the mirror. If a line of light is thrown on the mirror at an angle of 45 degrees, it will be reflected at that angle, and we have only to know the angle at which light is thrown on the surface of the mirror to be able to tell the angle at which it will be reflected. According to the line of manifestation by which spirit is involved into matter, will matter be evolved into spirit. He says the physical world stops the process of involution and turns that which is involving back on the line of evolution. In the same way that a mirror turns back by reflection the light which is thrown on it. Some physical mirrors reflect physical objects only, as objects seen in a looking glass. Other physical mirrors reflect the light from the desire, mental, or spiritual worlds. Among physical mirrors may be mentioned stones such as the onyx, diamond, and crystal, metals such as iron, tin, silver, mercury, gold, and amalgams, woods such as oak, mahogany, and ebony. Among animal bodies or organs, the eye particularly reflects light thrown on it. Then there is the water, air, and sky, all of which reflect the light, and objects made visible by the light. Physical mirrors have various forms. There are many-sided and beveled mirrors. There are concave and convex, long-bored and narrow mirrors. There are mirrors which produce hideous effects, distorting the features of the one who faces them. These different kinds of mirrors represent aspects of the physical world, which is the mirror of the other worlds. What one sees in the world is the reflection of what he does in the world. The world reflects what he thinks and does. If he grins and shakes his fist at it, it will do the same to him. If he laughs, the reflection laughs too. If he wonders at it, he will see wonder depicted on every line. If he feels sorrow, anger, greed, craft, innocence, cunning, inanity, guile, selfishness, generosity, love, he will see these enacted in and turned back at him by the world. Every change of the emotion, the horror, joy, fear, pleasantry, kindliness, envy, vanity, is reflected. All that comes to us in the world is but the reflection of what we have done to or in the world. He says this might seem strange and untrue in view of the many occurrences and events which befall an individual during the span of his life, and which do not seem to be merited by or connected with any of his thoughts and actions. Like some thoughts which are new, it is strange, but not untrue. A mirror will illustrate how it may be true. One must become acquainted with the law before its strangeness disappears. So he goes on to say, by experimenting with mirrors, one may learn of strange phenomena. So you know how it is when you set a mirror in front of another one, and then you can look and see yourself a whole bunch of times repeated in the mirror as far as your eye can see. Well, he says to do that type of experiment, and then to even go as far as having 4, 8, 16, 32 in pairs and opposite each other. And then the number of your reflection will be increased, and he says the experimenter will have not only a front and a rear view, but will see his figure from the right and left side and from different intermediate angles. This is the part that made me start even thinking about Mecha Isa more. So I did go to my channel and make a playlist of all that I read from chapter 87. It's probably not the whole chapter, but it is the story in here about her and the red dragon that she had a battle with, and about her crystal ball and where she got it from. She discusses a lot in this chapter 87. She talks about the objective shared group reality of El Kush. What Mecha Isa tells us about El Kush is that there's a mansion, and each person has their own personal mansion, and there's many, many rooms inside of that mansion that are connected to all of our previous incarnations, and that you can go into those rooms, and that there's rooms inside of those rooms. Yes, she teaches us about the multi-layered soul, and that Jaja thought of everything. It is definitely worth your time in reading chapter 87, and it's got me thinking about the spiritual world. And so I'm going to read a little bit more from Percival. He says to do that experiment, and you can even have an entire room composed of mirrors, the floor, ceiling, and the 4 walls of which are mirrors, and in the corners of which are set up mirrors. And this may be continued indefinitely. Then the experimenter will be in a maze, and he will see himself from above and from below, and from front and back, and from right and left, from all angles, and in a multiplication of reflections. I'm going to read this last part and then try to chew on it while I make the next video, because this is deep even for me. It says, it is not necessary for one to have the mirrors to see his reflections if he can experiment by reflecting his mind in its own light. As many mirrors as he might set up, and in which he would see his reflections reflected, doubled and increasing indefinitely in number. It says he would not only be able to see the reflections of his body in his mind, but he may be able to connect and see the relation of all things which occur to him with his present life, and he will know then that no thing does occur but that which is related in some way to his present life, as a reflection from the actions of past lives or those of other days in his life. All right, I think that's enough juice. don't want anyone to drown here. We're going to put this on the next video when I finally do read I Spoclaria. And so that piece about Mecca Isa just was brought to my attention today as I was trying to read this I Spoclaria. And so I wanted to add that in. So next is coming the rest of the reading from I Spoclaria, Nagoa Hashakaina. And if you have the hard copy and you want to read it first, go to page 1042 and do the math, please. 1042 is a 7. Yes, and even when we were reading about the red dragon in part 2, that was the 7th act of Gawenja Man when he held up that magical Aleph mirror. And yes, I do think it was a crystal ball. So let me know what you think in the comments from so far what we read, because I've been all over the place, but I was trying to make that connection. What type of mirror did he have? And then the whole thing about the objective shared group reality. Okay, so last but not least, here's the little gem that came to my mind as I was making this video. When I thought about Mecca Eza, boy, the word Mecca really stood out, because in the Holy Megillah, chapter 87, at the bottom of the page, the footnote says, you pronounce her name as Mekh hyphen Ez, and then another hyphen AH. So you really would say Mecca Eza. And so Mecca officially Makkah al-Mukarrama is the holiest city in Islam. You know how many people share in this group? Listen to what it says about Mecca Eza and what that word means. This is from page 935 in the Holy Megillah. It says, Old Strong's Bible Concordance gives pronunciation as Mecca Eza and defines as a window, thus also light. A newer version of Strong's, called the Strongest Strong's, adds that it thus also is used to mean a lighted spot, a place where light has entered as through a window. Remember in Mecca they have some kind of special stone. Like a window. There's supposed to be like something that fell from heaven in there, right? And you see, when I did that video a year ago, I didn't even put those 2 and 2 connections together, that it was actually saying Mecca Eza. Well, I wasn't pronouncing her name right. When you watch the videos, don't laugh. But it finishes saying on the page 935, and that is appropriate, for like a window, light flows through her to enlighten those that sit near her. So obviously this word also means a very special spot. That's why this place is named Mecca. All right. And yo, if you're not familiar with her story, you want to know about it, man. I'm serious, because she lived in a very special spot in El Kush. It was called a tree house. Yeah, very enlightening, her story. And that is appropriate because her name means light, or a lighted spot. And so she remembered and had stories about Old Eden, just like when we read about Nagoa Hashakaina. She was around in Old Eden too. So this is a part of this venerable ancestors shared group reality. And wait until you go and read chapter 87 and you read about the objective shared group reality in El Kush. It's gonna knock your socks off. But okay, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Yeah, Michael Jackson. accent. He was a wizard too.
I need you. Teach me, Lord. I need you, Lord. Show me your way, Father. Show me